Okay, Daf Yud Amid Aleph here in Nazir. We now have a microphone that we found in the Shul Kodesh in North Woodmere. Binyomin, how would you describe this interesting microphone?
It's great. It's about 6 inches high. It's got a nice puffy thing at the end of it, so I'm talking right into it. So tell us if the sound is clear.
Yes. We just published on YouTube Daf Ches and Tes. Hopefully this one will go up today, which I'm excited about learning in the morning as well, because people who search Daf Yud today, Thursday, they might actually see it here February 2nd, 2023.
Great.
Okay, we're going to have Binyomin take it off.
Ooh.
Chewing some gum. Go ahead.
Okay. Omar. There we go. What is the guy saying today? I'm always excited what someone's going to say. Amra parazu harena nazira imay medasani. Wait, a person said that this cow said, I am a Nazir if I stand up.
So off the bat, we've heard donkeys talk, right? A donkey talks to Bilam.
Bilam, okay.
So
A snake talked to Chava.
We know parrots can talk.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what the Mishnah means.
Right.
For all we know, or this guy is crazy in the head.
Right. Could be crazy.
Right?
So let's see. Okay, so okay, that sounds interesting. Orimer Hadela says that. The person said, the door said, Harini Nazira im niftachani. I'm a Nazir if I open. Oh my.
You said Harini Nazir in my medasani. I'm a Nazir if I stand up.
In my medasani. That's what the cow said.
Right.
Orimer Hadela says im niftachani if I open. Veishama Emrim Nazir. He is a Nazir. Veisil Emrim Eine Nazir. Amr Yehuda Afkisha Amr Beishamai Amru Ela Ba'Aimer Hare Parazu Alai Karban Imamedasi. They have to actually explain it later, right? That it's similar to the last Mishnah, to explain it that he meant that this cow is for me like a sacrifice if she stands up. Meaning, because it doesn't make sense otherwise, or you don't know what he's trying to say otherwise, I would assume. Right, as in the previous Mishnah, Yehuda maintains that Bishami did not rule that this person becomes a Nazir with such a declaration, but only that the cow or door become prohibited to him by neder, if he explains that his intention was to prohibit them through a neder. So it's actually not Nazirus, but that the cow or the door is usher to him through this neder. Right, we saw that later from previous.
That's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying.
According to Rabbi
that
Yehuda,
he's not a Nazir.
Right, but according to
saying Beishami is saying that when he says he's a Nazir, it activates the neder.
So now I would love to know what the Tanakamas.
By the way, we do have the Heilig Mordechai Shapiro in the shul, so we should tag it on YouTube. We'll get some extra views. People looking for Mordechai Shapiro.
Right. Oh, maybe they could hear his voice in the background.
Right.
I'm not sure if this microphone is picking up.
Maybe YouTube will pick it up and we'll get some new Chavrusa Daf. We'll leech off his subscriber base.
That'd be great. Should we get him on?
Yeah, we should have him do a cameo.
Get him in the back of the selfie right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll put him in the... 5% Amazing.
All right, well, back to... Okay, so you think we got our Mishnah here?
Yeah, we got the Mishnah.
I have a feeling we're going to go to town on these cows and doors giving statements. So let's talk about that.
Horami ka mishtaya. Frak the Gemara, the obvious question, does a cow talk?
Wow. These are existential
What does it mean when the Mishnah said, Amra parazu, this cow said?
Right.
Amar Rami Barchama, Hachim Mayaskinan, Kigoin Shahaisa Para Revuta Lafanav, with the case of a cow that was lying down in front of him. The Amar, and the person said to himself, Kisvura Paraza Ene Medes. This cow thinks it's unable to get up. Harini Nazir mib Sarah. I am hereby Nazir from her meat. Im amda me aleha, if she gets up on her own. The amda me aleha, and the cow got up on her own. So, it's not that the cow's actually talking, but the person's saying, if the cow thinks it's unable to get up, I'm a Nazir from her own meat, and if she gets up on her own, if this cow thinks it's unable to get up, I'm going to be a Nazir from her meat if she gets up on her own. This cow is acting lazy, and he's like, this cow thinks that. If it gets up, I'll be a Nazir from her meat. I don't know if he thought it would actually end up happening, which I think matters because...
If you think something's like impossible, then do those words matter?
No, I mean more like...
No, like when pigs fly.
Serious, right. Oh. I mean like he wasn't serious about it.
He wasn't serious about it, right. So do people say things for naught? I wonder if we're going to get back into that question.
On seeing the cow lying down, the person remarks to himself that the cow appears to be thinking, I wish I could get up. I would gladly become a Nazir if I succeed in getting up. Of course, a cow cannot be a Nazir, but what she means is that someone should be a Nazir from her meat. So he's presuming that a Nazir is that the cow is lazy and unable to get up, and then he's saying, I'm going to be a Nazir from her meat if she gets up on her own. And the cow gets up on her own. So again, we also see that he's a Nazir from her meat. It's talking about that neder, the way Rabbi Yehuda explained it, right? Because Beis Shammai in the Mishnah, when you look at it face value, it looks like he's a Nazir. He can't cut his hair. He can actually eat the meat of the cow. But
right.
Also, we talk about the meat, but he would probably be, according to Rabbi Yehuda, would also be prohibited from
the milk.
The milk.
Interesting. Except that if he actually, in his mind, was only thinking about from the meat, maybe it is only the meat.
Right.
These are interesting.
The Gemara's discussion of the Mishnah is very obscure, and many different interpretations have been suggested.
All right. Okay, V'holchu. Okay, so I think so. That was Rami Bar Chama that gave this explanation of does a cow talk? No, but we're talking. The guy was saying what he thinks the cow is saying. I've never seen a Gemara like this. Have you ever seen a Gemara that the guy is talking about what the cow is thinking? It's really amazing.
Yeah, Rebelli Stefanski was talking about that. This cow talking, he said it's one of the strangest terms he's seen in a Gemara, I believe he said.
I'd have to agree with Rebelli there.
And he's seen a lot more Gemaras than you and I combined.
Maybe one or two more, yeah. V'holchu Beis Shammai l'shitasan, u'Beis Hillel l'shitasan. Let's explain. Beis Shammai the Amri. Why? How is it like Beis Shammai? Remember, he said min had gregoris min had dvela. We're back to our gregoris and dvelas. The dried figs or pressed figs. Someone said I'm a Nazir from the figs or pressed figs, dried figs or pressed figs, and we know that you know that's not part of Naziris. It's not wine. Have a Nazir is a Nazir, and Hachanami say it to here. Ki amar b'bsara. I'm a Nazir from the cow's meat. Have a Nazir, and again it means that he's really a neder from those things. Uveis Hillel Imrim. Well, I have a Nazir, he's not a Nazir because you look at the whole statement, doesn't make sense, so you're not a Nazir.
Okay, makes sense. Right, Beis Hillel and the other Mishnah said that if someone says I'm a Nazir from figs, it's meaningless. Same thing here, a Nazir from meat is meaningless according to Rabbi Yehuda.
Okay, so... Now, V'ha Amrua Beis Shammai Chad Zimna. So, why do we need it again? We already understand them. It's the same machlekes. The same machlekes is: do you try to interpret his strange words as meaning something, right? So it's the same thing. Why do you?
Yeah. What are we learning more in this Mishnah?
Good question. Amarava Tarti Tlas. Actually, 2 or even 3 examples are necessary, as will shortly be explained. We're going to learn a few examples of why we need to explain the difference between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And we're going to need all these why. We only had the Mishnah about the figs, that I'm a Nazir from figs. You could say that only over there, Beis Shammai would say you're a Nazir, Misham Demichalfan, Ba'anavim. Maybe you could say figs are confused with grapes. So it can be reasonably argued that
especially when grapes turn into raisins, They're even more similar to figs, like
Right.
figs and raisins.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that
Oh, and they're dried.
dryness,
We're talking
right.
about dried.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, I could see the confusion. Oh, basar, but anavim like mechaf, right? No one's gonna mix up meat and grapes unless you get grape juice and milk. Those are two things that go in your fridge. But no one's gonna confuse that. Thus, maybe if someone says meat, and I'm a nazir from the cow's meat, that's not connected. And maybe Beis Shammai would not hold him a nazir in that case. There comes the Mishnah and says, no, even in that case of meat, you still nazir, which nazir means neder from that thing. But yeah,
According to Rabbi Yehuda.
according to Rabbi Yehuda, I
Beis
know
Shammai,
I'm
he's
still
an
not.
actual nazir.
He's still an actual nazir.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Vietmar basar. Okay, so just say the case of basar, not the figs. Hachahuda Amri Beis Shammai have a nazir, because you'll say, no, only over there Beis Shammai said you're a nazir, bivsara v'chamra. Case of meat and wine, right? Goes together, they pair well. So maybe you could say, oh, he said meat, he meant wine. Actually hear that,
Right.
Aval grey to devela, lie. But what's figs have to do with wine? So therefore he's not another. Maybe he wouldn't be a nazir according to Beis Shammai. Kamash Malan, that's what we have to explicitly say both cases to understand that Beis Shammai would say in both those cases he's a nazir. Now, V'yitmar Hani Tarti, if it would have said the figs and meat case, and not the case of the door, where the door is talking. It's like Beauty and the Beast. The case where the door is talking. Hani Hu Amri Beis Shammai. Maybe only over there he's a nazir. Aval Delas. He would agree to Beis Hillel that he's not a nazir. Why? Because
Door has nothing to do with grapes or wine.
Wine, hair, carbon. Like I'm not saying any.
Right, there's no connection.
Itani Delas. Okay, so just teach Delas, but maybe Bahak Amir Beis Hillel. Only in that one, Beis Hillel would say that it's ineffective. That's where he's not a nazir, since a door can't be confused. But in the two cases of figs and meat, he would agree to Beis Shammai that he's a nazir because there is some similarity between the figs and the meat and nazir. Kamash Malan, delay. That's why we need all three cases. That to tell you that Beis Hillel will say that all these three statements are not going to make you a nazir.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm.
So how did Rami Bar Chama explain the Mishnah? He explained it by saying that what's the case that we're dealing with in the Mishnah? It's not that the cow is actually talking. It's a case where the cow is lying down in front of him, and the person said to himself, "This cow thinks it's unable to get up. I'll be a nazir from her meat if she gets up on her own." And the cow got up on her own. Amar Rava, Miktani imam damela. Does the Mishnah state if she gets up on her own? Right, the word in the Mishnah says.
Right, he's really adding a lot of words here.
Harei Nazir in my medesani. I'm a nazir if I stand up. And now you're saying the Mishnah. You're explaining the Mishnah as if it says amda me'aleha on her own. Since the vow is restricted to taking effect only if the cow stands up on a sister, according to Rami Bar Chama, the Mishnah should have said this explicitly.
Right. Basically, it's like, how is he saying this? And he's really adding a lot of words into the Mishnah here.
Well, I think it's more than that, because when you say Harei Nazir in my medesani, if I stand up, maybe it's with support.
Right. It could be any way that it
Right.
stands up.
If I pick it up and it stands up, it's fine. And you're telling me, not only are you adding words, but you're also adding intention into the Mishnah, that it's also on her own? Mechatesi.
All right.
Interesting that Rava has an issue with that, but the cow talking. Okay, I guess Rami Bar Chama explained that a little bit. Elam Rava. Rather, Rava says, let me tell you an explanation of the Mishnah. The case is that the cow was lying down in front of him. Va'amar harayalei karban, and he said, "It is incumbent upon me to bring a nazir's sacrifice if the cow gets up." Interesting, because
So not that he should become a nazir, but that he'll bring the carbon of a Nazir.
Not that it's going to be on, like the way Rabbi Yehuda explained initially in the Mishnah, that it's like a carbon, like it's usher to me, it's just a general carbon. Now we're hearing about a Nazir's sacrifice, a Nazir's carbon. So
Right.
when he's saying this in the Mishnah, it's not the way Rami Bar Chama said, but rather it's a case where the cow was lying down in front of him, and he said, "It is incumbent upon me to bring a Nazir sacrifice if the cow gets up, regardless of how it gets up." So, in Rava's interpretation, it's not that the cow is talking. They all agree the cow is not talking. But according to Rava, the imaginary statement attributed to the cow is not that if she gets up on her own she will become a Nazir. Rather, thinking that she will not be able to get up, the cow is imagined as saying that if she does get up, whether on her own or with assistance, she will be used for the sacrifice of a Nazir. A Nazir does not bring a cow as part of his obligatory concluding ritual, but it was customary for him to bring additional voluntary sacrifices on that occasion, and these would include a cow, as Zayzak Darash. By voicing the cow's imaginary statement, the person shows that he acquiesces, and it is equivalent to his stating, "If the cow gets up, I undertake an obligation that will make it incumbent upon me to bring the sacrifice of a Nazir." Accordingly, according to Rava, Beis Shammai rules that the person is a Nazir in that case, and Beis Hillel says that he is not a Nazir. This story entails an adoption of Nazirs. Of course, if the person stated explicitly, "It is incumbent on me to bring the Nazir's offerings," he would be a Nazir even according to Beis Hillel. So in this case, where he's talking about from the cow's perspective that it is incumbent upon me to bring a Nazir sacrifice if the cow gets up, is that enough to make him a Nazir?
Right, because he doesn't explicitly say that he wants to become a Nazir.
Right.
So what?
But Beis Shammai is reading up when he says, according to Rava, "Harei alai carbon," that's enough for Beis Shammai to equate that statement to saying, "If the cow gets up, I undertake an obligation that will be incumbent upon me to bring the sacrifices of a Nazir."
And now it's so
saying it's
interesting.
synonymous.
Right, that I hear. Okay, in Beis Hillel though, like he is
Beis
saying
Hillel's saying
"Harei
that-
alai carbon."
Right.
How do you say that it's ineffective?
Because there's no, according to Beis Hillel, you could say that there is no carbon of meat. So that's not enough. You need to be more explicit. There's a lack of explicitness.
Yeah. All right.
Mora has a question on Rava's explanation. Bishlam para ba carbon heat. This explanation is understandable concerning a cow, since a cow is eligible for a sacrifice. Eladelis bas carbon heat. But how is it understandable concerning a door? Is a door eligible for a sacrifice?
But the wood. You gotta burn
Right.
it.
What's the machlokes Beis Shammai? I understand Beis Hillel with a door. You're not a Nazir. But then why would the Mishnah come to teach me that according to Rava? Obviously. And according to Beis Shammai, what's the Mishnah coming? Why is he a Nazir according to Rava?
It's
is the
not
door eligible for a sacrifice? El Marava. The case of the Mishnah is not just that the cow is lying down, but the cow is lying down in front of him, and it's adamantly refusing to get up. Just as a person might say, "I will be such and such if I do that," meaning that he does not want to do it, so too the cow is imagined to be saying, "I'll be a Nazir if I stand up," meaning it refuses to get up. Wow, that's interesting. The cow is lying down and is adamantly refusing to get up. And there's a person who say, I'll be a superhero if I do that, if I go ahead and fly. I'm not flying. I don't want to do that. So too the cow is imagined to be saying, "I'll be a Nazir if I stand up." I don't know what that means. There's like a sprach or like intention. I think it's more of like Yeah. I'll be a Nazir if I stand up. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Like almost like there's a sarcasticness to it.
So he actually wants to become a Nazir?
No, I don't think so. But it's like an almanas.
If she does not stand up, but she's down.
No, not if I not stand up.
Hold on. It's Hareini Nazir Miyayin Imloy Amda. That's what he said, right? El Amarava. Let's turn to the next page. V'amar. And what did he say? Hareini Nazir Miyayin Imloy Amda.
Oh, I missed that. So he's saying the case in the Mishnah is not that the cow is laying down in front of him and is coming upon me to bring another sacrifice if the cow gets up. The case of Mishnah is that the cow is lying down in front of him. But Amar, and he effectively says, Hareini Nazir Miyayin Imloy Amda. I'm hereby a Nazir from wine.
Imloy Amda.
If she does not stand up, V'amda Mela, and she stood up on her own without his person's assistance.
All right, let's see note 1.
The person angered by this cow's stubborn refusal to stand up and her imagined resort to a Nazir's vow to demonstrate a resolution, vows that he would either stand her up or become a Nazir himself. This commitment is not articulated, but is understood to be evident from the fact that the person verbalizes the cow's thoughts. The cow is imagined as saying that she will be a Nazir if she stands up. By verbalizing her vow not to stand up, he implies his counter vow to stand her up or to be a Nazir if he does not.
By verbalizing her vow not to stand up, he implies his own counter vow to stand her up or to be a Nazir if he does not. So he's basically like, this cow's not getting up. And he's upset. He's like, this cow is now saying she's a Nazir. She doesn't get up. Well, you know what? I want to get her up. And I'm vowing the opposite, that if I don't get her up, then I'm a Nazir.
So now that when she stands up, is he a Nazir?
No, because he said
Mishnah.
He has.
Machlekes,
You're
right?
saying the cow. Yeah. So then the cow's imagined to say that it is a Nazir. She is a Nazir when he stands her up, because that was part of the vow.
I'm hereby a Nazir from wine if she does not stand up.
I am the Nazir from the wine if she doesn't stand up.
So she.
But what is he saying in his mind?
Yeah.
The cow is a Nazir if it does stand up. The cow is a Nazir if she does stand up. He is saying, I am a Nazir if she doesn't stand up.
I'll look at the end of note 1. Rabbi's current interpretation does not take the vow to be a declaration of a Naziris from something irrelevant to Naziris, such as cow's meat, or as a declaration equivalent to a Nazir vow, which we thought in the beginning, that's what Rabbi was saying, an obligation to bring it as a Nazir sacrifice. Rather, the vow takes the form of a straightforward vow of Naziris, a Nazir from wine. But at issue, however, is whether the condition, if she does not stand up, has been fulfilled. The fact that she stood up without the vower's assistance, either on its own or with a different person's assistance, and he said initially, right, that I am hereby Nazir from wine if she does not stand up. Question is, like, he didn't say on her own.
He didn't say on her own. You're right.
So this idea of, like, if this cow does not stand up, I think has a certain level of him doing it. If him doing it or someone else doing it, like getting this cow up, right? So is this guy now going to be a Nazir according to Rava's explanation if this cow now jumps up on its own? He thinks this cow is stubborn, right? He's upset. I'm hereby Nazir from wine if she doesn't stand up. If I don't get this cow up. If my friend doesn't get this cow up. You know, is that what he means? And then she jumps up on her own. So according to Beis Shammai, he says...
So I think the next line explains how Beis Shammai is.
Beis Shammai Savri, Torpe dahai gabra. The essence of this man's declaration, mishum oikme bidehu, relates to raising the cow with his own hands. And he did not raise her himself. Right, it's the essence of this man's declaration. Interesting. Therefore, he's a Nazir. It relates to the fact the cow is lying down. Kamas. I don't care how it got up. You said if the cow gets up, you're not a Nazir. Or you're going to be a Nazir if it does not stand up. And now the cow's up. You're not a Nazir.
So, first of all, I just need to understand. He's a Nazir if it... what was he saying? I want to be a Nazir if the cow
does not stand up.
So basically, if it stays in its current state, laying down.
Well, it depends how you learn if it does not stand up.
Right, fine. Okay.
Shammai,
fine, on its own, not on its own. I'm just not sure which way activates his Naziris.
Okay.
Getting up activates, or by staying down it activates?
By staying down it activates.
So by staying down, is there a time limit here?
That's a great question.
Because then, what do you mean? 5 seconds, 2 seconds, it's still down.
Excellent question.
Because the activation, it doesn't stand up. So now, fine. You're saying that by staying down, that makes him a
So
Nazir.
hold on. That's a great question. The minimum amount of Nazir is 30 days.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if 23 days come, and let's say he drinks wine on the first day, right?
Okay.
Right? Hey, you're not allowed to drink wine. You're a Nazir. No, I'm not.
Cow didn't get up.
The cow didn't get up. That's fine. But if the cow gets up tomorrow, then there's no Naziris day 1. The cow gets up on day 31, then there is a Naziris for 30 days.
Yeah. So I don't know how that would work. Like when's it chal? Is it chal from the time he made the statement, or from when the cow gets up?
Maybe it's chal until the cow gets up, but it's moot if the cow gets up within 28 days, depending on the.
Because then he's not a Nazir.
Then he's not a Nazir. Or if the cow gets up in 31, hope you didn't drink wine on the 30th day. I don't know. I'm trying to answer what I think might be the answer to your question, but it's a great question. I'm a Nazir if something doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But that thing could not happen forever, or it could happen right now.
Right.
So what happens in the interim?
Yeah.
We might need to go and get this question answered at some point after this.
Okay.
It's that good of a question, right?
I'm feeling it.
So now that you understand what he said, now let's talk out what, according to Rava, the machlokes Beisham and Beis Hillel is.
All right.
He said what, Binyomin?
He said, I will be a Nazir.
From what?
I'm a Nazir from, drinking wine.
Okay.
If the cow.
What's the cow's name? Betsy?
I was going to say that, but it's too typical.
Okay.
This guy is definitely not a typical guy.
Okay, you want to name the cow Tanakama? Not disrespectfully, but he thought, if you listened to yesterday's share, the cow's name was Tanakama. Or that there's a Tana named Tanakama.
Just call it Tanya.
Tanya. I mean, that's the name of it.
Oh, wow. The Sefer that's right next to it.
Okay, let's call it Kama. Kama the cow.
Kama the cow.
So this cow's not standing up, so you're Nazir. And then what happened? The cow stood up on her own.
Which makes him not a Nazir.
Depends what you hold like. According to Beis Shammai, what did you mean when you said standing up on her own? Did you mean that you're a Nazir if you...
He said you would have to actually
lift it up.
He didn't.
He didn't. The cow did it. Because he didn't think that the cow would ever do it, which is another question. If you don't think something's going to happen and you make a Nazir's vow, while you're a Nazir, you have some level of, like you need 100% intention, right?
Intent. Yeah, you got intent. You have intent.
So that's another question that we're going to have to ask somebody.
Right. So he got up, and therefore... he's a Nazir because basically in his mind, it never did what he wanted it to do, and therefore in his mind it's basically still on the ground. According to Beis Shammai, he said, I'm a Nazir if it stays on the ground, it's basically still on the ground because he never picked it up.
Or no, it's up, but it's up not the way I intended.
Right. Yeah. And Beis Hillel again. We got the walkie-talkie out. Okay.
Walkie-talkie, I tell a walkie-talkie, that's the childish sprach. It's a radio. We don't call a walkie-talkie.
Oh, yeah? I'm sorry to offend you.
That's okay.
Okay, I know now.
Sheesh. I love how the Yud Amid Beis also ends off at the two dots with a fresh Mishnah. I'm telling you, this is set up for success, perfection.
All right. Ihachi. Go for it, radio man.
Ema Seifa. Look at the end of the Seifa. Amr Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, Av kisha amru beishamai. Even when Beishamai said this, like Amru Ela Ba'omer, they said it only for someone who says, Harezeh para zoi alai karban. This end of the Mishnah where Rabbi Yehuda bavarns Beishamai, he says this cow was for me like a sacrifice if she stands up. However, if as Rava claims the person made a regular declaration of Nazirs from wine, how could Rabbi Yehuda explain that the person meant to prohibit the cow? Are we talking about actual Nazirs from wine, or are we talking about this Isser of this neder of not enjoying the cow's meat? Parmi kamaspis midi. Has the cow been invested with any legal status?
What? Call my lawyer.
The Tanakama of our Mishnah explained the machlekes of Beishamai's hill to be a dispute about whether the vow makes him a Nazir, and Rabbi Yehuda explained the dispute to being whether the cow to him, it prohibits the cow to him by a neder. Right. The wording of the declaration, however, is not in dispute. Now, if the declaration speaks of being a Nazir from the cow, Rabbi Yehuda's ruling makes sense, for it is possible then to claim that the intention was to vow not to eat the meat of the cow. There was no intention to stop some years. But if the wording of the declaration is, as explained by Rava, I am hereby Nazir from wine if I do not raise the cow, how can this be construed as a vow not to eat the cow's meat? What do these words mean? Has the cow been invested with any legal status?
I think it's parakika mas, like maspis is like toughest, meaning we weren't like, is the subject here the wine or is the subject here the cow?
Understood.
So the cow, according to Rava's interpretation, doesn't have any tfisa here. It's not the cow that's being sacrificed, right? We're talking about whether a person is a Nazir. So then how does it fit the statement of Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah at the end that the para itself is the karban, right? I think that's the question.
Amazing. Ela kagoin to Amar.
Okay, so
now we're having, this is a modification of the explanation of Rava, and this is the third for Rava, because we already had Rami Bar Chama. We have no issues with Rami Bar Chama, but the Gemara is now upset. It has mad cow disease on. Okay, sorry. El kagoin de Amar. We always try to stick in one pun, one reference to something that is not referenced verbally. El kagoin de Amar. Rather, the case is that he said in effect, Harini Nazir mibsara im loy amda. I am hereby a Nazir from her meat if she does not stand up.
Okay, so it is on the meat. Right?
Okay. The amda mela, and she stood up on her own. Beishamai savre, Beishamai holds that torpe dahu gavra. The essence of that man's declaration, mishum ukme bidehu, relates to raising the cow with his own hands. V'haloik oikman, he did not raise himself up, and the vow therefore takes effect. So, even though we're talking about the meat, according to Beis Shammai, he's going to be a Nazir. And the Beis Hillel Savre Turpe Dahai, the essence of this man's declaration, Mishum Derevia, relates to the fact that the cow is lying down, V'hakamas, and it has now stood up. So accordingly, the vow does not take effect. Why? Because according to Beis Hillel, he means if the cow remains down, he's going to take upon himself a vow. And now, regardless of how it's accomplished, the cow stood up, and therefore it is in the garbage. There's no vow. Okay, and let's try to think just for a quick second. Now that the way Rava explains the Mishnah, that the case is, I'm hereby a Nazir from her meat if she does not stand up. When Rabbi Yehuda now says that he explains
Yeah, I get Rabbi Yehuda. I just don't
I just
get...
want to say, even when Beis Shammai said this, they said it only for someone who says this cow is for me like a sacrifice. You need that. That you became a Nazir, you need to, according to Rabbi Yehuda's Bavarn of Beis Shammai, you need to include this word carbon in that. Okay, so in this modification, this third Rava explanation of our Mishnah, the case is simply Hareini Nazir Mibsara Imlai Amda. According to Beis Shammai, you're not a Nazir because your intention was that you were going to lift.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't raise himself up. So therefore, the vow takes effect. The cow did not stand up the way you intended to. I'm sorry. The cow, if she does not stand up, I'm going to be a Nazir from her meat. And he said...
Beis Shammai says...
The essence of the man's declaration relates to raising the cow with his own hands, and he did not raise up himself. He did not raise the cow up himself.
Right. Which his statement was, if I don't do it, I'm a Nazir, right?
Yeah, it means that unless he personally gets the cow up, he's going to be a Nazir. And he didn't do it, so he's a Nazir. Right. According to Beis Hill, I don't care how you do it. If this cow gets up, you are not a Nazir. Cow got up, you're done.
Right. So I think that what we have to really just understand is what's the difference between this Rava explanation and the previous one? So the only difference is, did he reference the cow's meat or did he not reference the cow's meat? Because in this version, he's referencing the cow's meat. So still, the Tana Kama is going to say you're a Nazir. You're not really making a neder from the meat, even though you phrased it that way. Beis Shammai, in the Tana Kama's view of Beis Shammai, right?
Rava's view.
Within Rava, within Beis Shammai, the Tana Kama of the Mishnah against Rabbi Yehuda, right? The question of the Gemara, why we're coming to a different interpretation, is because
it's not the Tana Kama; it's the second explanation. It's Rava's second explanation.
It's Rava's second explanation.
Okay.
But it had to flow to the Rabbi Yehuda in the end of the Mishnah.
Okay.
And Rabbi Yehuda is saying that this cow is a carbon. We said, how can a cow be a carbon if you're talking about Nazirus?
Okay.
So now it's saying that the person's statement was on, I'm a Nazir from her meat if she doesn't stand up. Mm-hmm. So Rabbi Yehuda at the end makes sense when he says he's referring, he had to explicitly say this is like a carbon to me. Mm-hmm. So Rabbi Yehuda makes sense at the end of the Mishnah. That's the only thing that changed between that second version and the third version of Rava that we just said now.
And this idea, how does it clean it up when he says already Nazir Mibsara? Because our issue was with Rabbi Yehuda's explanation. Mm-hmm. When you say that I'm a Nazir from wine, how can... you couldn't say it was from wine because it had to be from meat. Because that's what Rabbi Yehuda's explanation is, that the person saying he meant to prohibit... that this cow is for me like a sacrifice. If you say it's wine, then what does that mean? Right. So that's why we came back to the meat, and that's why we have Beis Shammai good, Beis Hillel good, and Rabbi Yehuda's explanation of Beis Shammai to be good. In fact, the Gemara, Beis Hillel Savri Imlei Kamas Havi Nazir, and do Beis Hillel hold, as implied by the preceding explanation, that if the cow does not stand up, the person is a Nazir. The Hamri Mibsar Lehavi Nazir, but the Beis Hillel say that if someone declares, I'm hereby Nazir from its meat, he is not a Nazir. Where did we say that?
Good question.
Earlier, on 9a and 10a, Beis Hillel maintained that a vow to be a Nazir from something irrelevant to Nazirus, from figs, is ineffective. Accordingly, a vow of I'm hereby Nazir from this cow's meat should be ineffective even if the cow does not budge. The whole sprach doesn't work according to Beis Hillel based on what he said previously. Right. And for the Gemara, l'tamaihu the Beis Shammai ka'amri. Beis Hillel are arguing according to Beis Shammai's view as follows: Lidi dan afilu lo kamas nami lehav nazir. Even if the cow doesn't get up, he's not a nazir. Lidid chu da'amrisu havi nazir. But according to you, Beis Shammai, who say that if a person declares, I'm hereby nazir from meat, he's a nazir. Oidelon mihas, concede to us at least that in this case, he shouldn't be a nazir. The turfei dahadein gavra mishum derivai, because the essence of this man's declaration relates to the fact that the animal was lying down, v'hakamas, and is now stood up. And Beis Shammai, right? We don't. They're arguing about the intention now, and Beis Hillel saying, yeah, according to you, Beis Shammai, it shouldn't make a difference whether or not
who lifts a person.
He shouldn't be stand up. According to us, you're right. He's not a Nazir regardless.
Yeah.
This is, you're talking about other stuff. Beis Shammai says lav. No, turpe dahai gavra mishum oik mevidehu. The essence of man declaration relates to his standing, the cow up with his own hands. V'haloi ukman. He did not stand it up himself. So it's a machlekes on whether or not you learn turpehu de gavra as to whether or not. So it's like a multi-machlekes. One machlekes, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, is like we learned a blot away, in that when you say I'm a Nazir and you talk about something foreign, Beis Hillel says you're not a Nazir automatically. Beis Shammai says, wait, it still might work. Additionally, if you use this foreign substance to make yourself a Nazir, Beis Hillel for sure would not say it, but Beis Hillel says, like, come on, concede to me, tell me that in this case you're not going to actually consider what he's thinking, his intention behind it. And Beis Shammai says, you know what? I'm actually going to go that far. Yeah, I am. And Rabbi Yehuda, in all of that, he would still say, it makes sense, this cows for me, you have to actually say the word carbon in order to do it. And I would imagine Rabbi Yehuda also, if he's going to bavar and Beis Shammai, he's also going to say, not only do you have to say carbon, you also actually have to have the intent. We look at his intention as well.
Very good.